Especially now. After this. Ja? They did not sign anything and they needed to sign. Now they are angry why we needed to sign in Bulgaria. So you're right. It's better position.
Dobro utro, dame i gospoda. Good morning to everybody, dear ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests and honorable viewers of this magnificent opportunity this morning to have a festive celebration of the 20th anniversary of the AUE Fon University. Ке продолжам понатаму на македонски, барем во дел од говорот на утрово, да ви се обратам прво со посебна порака на добре дојде на главните виновници за овој настан денес. А тоа е семејството Цановски, кои што се основачи на Универзитетот АУЕ Фон, чија што 20 годишнина ја славиме ова утро, односно оваа недела. Еден голем аплауз за присуството овде на Тија Цановски и на Сефер Цановски. Овој 20 годишен јубилеј на Фон, овие 20 години инвестирање во образованието, во младите, во иднината на оваа земја, се придонес кој што е најдлабоко и најјасно ја оцртува важноста на она што се вели приоритет во едно општество. Како да се изградат генерации кои што ќе придонесуваат за развој, за прогрес, за зацврстување на општеството на начин на кој што ќе може да се развива и ќе се интегрира во рамките на европското семејство. Но не сум јас тој кој што ќе говори денес овде. Ќе ја повикам на сцената професор доктор Билјана Пулевска-Јанушевска, ректорот на АУЕ Фон, да ви се обрати.
Ви благодарам. Заради гостите, јас ќе говорам на англиски. Дами и господа, добро дојдовте и ви благодарам за вашето присуство, ви благодарам за вашиот придонес понатаму. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the symposium that focuses on challenges for education and different social aspects in the era of digitalization. This is a central question which pulls together so many of our concerns. This symposium is envisaged as a forum of academia, decision makers and practitioners in the various fields challenged by digital revolution. I want to thank all which answered our call to initiate discussion on issues and concerns related to this trend. Digital technologies have advanced more rapidly than any innovation in our history. The digital revolution has hit education with more and more classrooms plugged into the whole wired world. But are higher education making the most of the new technologies? Are they tapping into the learning potential of today's Instagram, Google, Facebook, cellular phone generation? Have educational institutions fallen through the crack of a digital divide? Many scholars argue that the knowledge revolution has transformed our jobs, our homes, our lives, and therefore must also transform our schools. Much like after the educational reform movement of the Industrial Revolution, our society is again poised at the edge of a radical change. To keep pace with the globalized technological culture, we must rethink how we educate the next generation. This symposium will offer a vision for the future of Macedonian education that goes well beyond the walls of the classroom to include online social networks, distance learning with anytime, anywhere access, digital homeschooling models, video game learning environments, and more. We further face various cyber attacks causing harm to actual warfare or disrupting vital computer systems. Some of those are intended outcomes could be espionage, sabotage, propaganda, manipulation, or economic warfare. But can we define what the term cyber warfare means, and even if such a thing exists? Can cyber attacks to date could be described as war? Could this be a suitable label for a cyber attack which threat to cause physical damage to people and objects in the real world? Technological revolutions have changed the labor force, creating new forms of patterns of work, making others obsolete and leading to wider societal changes. The current wave of change is likely to have profound impacts. Can this revolution create new jobs? How can we best achieve a just transition to a digital and sustainable economy that leaves no one behind? Starting from our agenda today and looking at different questions we aim to address together, we face complex challenge that requires to bring matters into alignment. These questions are: how can we best support uptake of digital solutions? How do we ensure continuing political leadership and civil society engagement for a joint sustainable digital transformation? How can we create opportunities for companies to move towards more digital economy? How can digitalization empower citizens and local communities? Ladies and gentlemen, number of present circumstances have dramatically accelerated the impact of a digital economy across all sectors. It is now our shared responsibility as a civil society to promote the use of digital technologies that will ensure that our transition is just. As we do this, we shall take the lead in digital transformation and set the pace on a national scale. We are grateful to all for contributing to discussion and for the opportunity to contribute to framing of future policy. I look forward to the rich panel discussion that will help share its academic or practical perspectives and build on its recommendations. I thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you a plain success in your deliberations. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Ulevska-Januszewska, for your kind words of introduction. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Emil Kirias, and I will be your conference moderator this morning. I used to be State Secretary of Foreign Affairs here in the Macedonian government, and I used to be invited before to give speeches, address panels. But nowadays I realize I'm more and more often invited to moderate events. And I'm not sure it's because I don't have so much more to say, something that is interesting, or because somebody wants to throw on me a mission impossible, like the one that I have today, is to moderate such a distinguished panel of extraordinary speakers in a very limited amount of time. So I know that by giving the floor to all these extraordinary ladies and gentlemen within only a few minutes is something that will cause me trouble, because I will have to be the one who will have to keep the time. But let me present who I have a distinct pleasure to have on my left and right. I will start, of course, as the manners and education would say, with my left side, Deputy Prime Minister Slavica Grkovska, certainly not a novel person into the world of politics, but also not a novel person either in the world of business, who is responsible in the Macedonian government for fighting corruption, but also for ensuring that there is a proper digital transformation. So welcome, Slavica, to this panel. On my right side, I have Madam Besa Kabashi, who is a lady involved both at the same time in business and in politics. She has started the BKR Associates, focusing on national defense issues, and at the same time she's serving in the shadow cabinet of Kosovo as a shadow minister of defense. Welcome, Besa. On the right, I have a good friend from quite some time ago. We said we are not talking about the years or decades. Ilya Gospodinov, a prominent businessman here in North Macedonia, who is the chairman of the chamber of the IT sector in the country. Ilya, welcome to the panel. Roman Jakic, another good long-time friend, coming from Slovenia only to be with us today. Roman has been one of the youngest political representatives in his country elected in the parliament, and then was serving as a Minister of Defense of Slovenia as a NATO member state. Now works as a consultant for various governments across the world. Roman, pleasure to have you in Skopje this morning. Continuing on my left side, another highly distinguished guest, Monsieur Michel Fouché, coming from France this morning, a very prominent and distinguished geopoliticist who has worked and advised cabinets of very prominent European countries. Perhaps I should not discover all of them in order to keep the level of engagement as it should be, a question of personal dedication. But you would find and read Michel's books and Michel's opinions in variety of distinguished bookshelves across the Europe. So it's very good to have you with us this morning. Professor Dr. Nana Ruzin, a professor at the American University of Europe here in Skopje, dean at the faculty, and also former ambassador of North Macedonia, a long-term serving former ambassador of North Macedonia to the NATO headquarters in Brussels. And certainly not last but not least, on my far left side, we have with us a very distinguished guest from the State of Israel, Yaher Helik Bar, who used to serve as a vice president of the Israeli parliament, the Knesset, and nowadays works as one of the most prominent experts in the field of cybersecurity. So thank you very much for all of you for coming here and being together with us. Madam Deputy Prime Minister, I will start with you. I will not start with our stories of how we worked 20 plus years ago, bringing up the issue of the digital transformation, of cybersecurity. At that time, it sounded, when we were talking to the people, as we are talking about something too long-term, not very tangible, something about a very distant future. Well, the future we are living today. And the world has changed profoundly. What are the current challenges in the geopolitical order that we have today? And how do we address these challenges from the point of digital, from the point of cybersecurity? Се разбира повелята на македонски.
Да.
Бидејќи сме во Македонија.
Да, разбира. Благодарам за поканата и уште еднаш честитки за юбилеот. Како што кажав и пред малку на изјава за медиумите, квалитетот на високото образование е секогаш предизвик, а имајќи ги предвид брзиот технолошки развој и она што се случува на геополитичката сцена, представува уште дополнителен предизвик за секоја образовна институција. Имајќи предвид дека високото образование не може и не смее да се гледа како изолиран систем, тоа е предизвик за целиот образовен систем во целина. Да почнем од тоа дека целото општество во суштина треба да стане поагилно, дека ние сите имаме обврска да најдеме механизми како општеството да стане поагилно и многу побрзо да се адаптира и многу побрзо да реагира на новите предизвици кои ги носат денешното време. За жал, точно е тоа што го кажа Емил, и за жал требаше да ни се случи војната и агресијата на Русија врз Украина, за поголемиот дел и генерално општеството да свати дека интересот за сајбербезбедноста и лоцирањето на средства за сајбербезбедност не е трошок, туку инвестиција. И за жал агресијата на Русија спрема Украина не направи побудни за генерално побудни за многу прашања за кои што зборувале секогаш некоја мала група на луѓе која била третирана и таму сега некои математичари, информатичари тука ќе не зборуваат за сајбер безбедност и што ли да е тоа. Меѓутоа, факт е дека одговорноста сега уште поголема и дека тоа не е одговорност и не е прашање само за едно министерство, само за кабинетот за политики за добро владење, со оглед на тоа што јас си председавам со Националниот совет за дигитална трансформација на општеството. Не е тоа ниту задача само на факултетите кои што произведуваат ИКТ кадри, туку генерално на целото општество. Сите сме свесни дека користењето на предностите на технологијата, кој што меѓу другото се користи во образовниот процес, покрај своите предности ги има за жал и ризиците. Меѓутоа се до денеска до скоро воопшто не се разговараше и зборуваше за овие ризици. Вие знаете дека порано дури на поинаков начин се гледаше и се сметаше што е тоа дигитализација на образовниот процес и што во суштина тоа треба да значи. Меѓутоа, мора да бидеме свесни дека паралелно со користење на дигиталните алатки и користење на сите новите технологии и алатки кои што ги носи денешното време, паралелно треба да расте и да јакне свесноста за сајбербезбедноста, меѓутоа исто така и да се имплементираат политики кои што ќе го овозможат тоа. Ова го зборувам од аспект на тоа што треба да сватиме дека, може малку брутално ова што ќе го кажам на ваков начин, меѓутоа за да станеме свесни, мислам дека никогаш немаме друга можност освен да бидеме така брутално и пластично реални, да сватиме дека денеска Европа е во војна. Цела Европа е во војна, не на таков традиционален начин како што во моментот е војната меѓу Русија и Украина, меѓутоа во војна во сајбер светот. Со сајбер напади, со ширење на дезинформации, со ширење на манипулации, и тоа е еден од механизмите кои што е војување на нетрадиционален начин, меѓутоа одличен механизам за како да внесете несигурност во системот, како да направите граѓаните во тие држави, во тие општества да ја изгубат вербата на системот и во државите и да бидат подложни на други влијанија за сметка на тоа дека не се уверени дека државата во која што живеат може да им ја обезбеди безбедност и заштитата која што тие ја заслужуваат. И тука голема улога има образовниот процес. И тоа од најмали нозе па до најголеми. Она што е клучно е дека е потребно да се оспособат новите генерации како успешно да навигираат во тој океан на информации, како да препознаваат релевантни извори, како да ги отфрвуваат манипулативните и лажните извори и како да препознаат и се справат со дезинформациите. Ние едноставно мора сите заедно да работиме на таа медиумска писменост, заедно со паралелно со зголемување на техниките на дигиталните алатки во наставата. На клучните прашања за функционалната писменост се разбира дека познавањето на математиката и критичкото размислување мора да се основата. И ова го кажувам не заради тоа што сум математичар, и заради тоа што образованието ми е пасија и навистина сметам дека тоа дека е сериозна основа за надградување во останатите сегменти, туку дека едноставно мора да се надобрзат нови знаења кои се релевантни за личен и колективен развој, како што се јакнење на свеста за еднаквост и правда, за тоа што значи добро владење, за граѓанска одговорност, за демократија, за почитување на човековите права, за правилен однос и кон себе си и кон другите, заради тоа што целиот овој да кажам, дигитален свет и брзината со која што се движат општествените процеси, ни носат предизвици за кои што во некои сегменти како општество не фатија неподготвени и затоа сметам дека колку поагилно станува општеството да реагира и да се приспособува на новите предизвици, толку подобро и побрзо ќе ги превенираме. Сајбер заканите негативно се одразуваат и во образованието и во целиот систем. Зошто? Затоа што ние сме сведоци на голем број на злоупотреба на лични податоци, за кои што особено младите генерации не се свесни дека на каков ризик се подвргнуваат во тој дигитален свет. И тоа е нешто на кое што треба да се фокусираме сите. Мора да се свати дека од секој аспект, секој чинител во образовниот процес има обврска да го пренесе тоа знаење за начинот на кој што треба да се штитат личните податоци, меѓутоа не и само податоците, него начинот на кој што се користат социјалните мрежи во смисла на заштита на приватноста, на заштита на семејството, меѓутоа и на злоупотреба. Ние имавме такви примери на злоупотреба на фотографии од девојки кои што беа користени во други намени, а не за она за кои што самите ги имале објавено на социјалните медии. Како што технологијата продолжува да напредува, и светот станува меѓусебно поврзан по различни основи, вертикално и хоризонтално, од економија, државни институции, јавна безбедност, патишта и така натаму. Особено уште еднаш ќе кажам, образованието е важно да биде во чекор со тоа и сега ќе напоменам на кратко, заради тоа што не знам колку сме со времето за да имам предвид да имам можност да ги набројам. Клучни аспекти се, значи, прво стекнување на дигиталната писменост, особено способност за комуницирање преку актуелните методи за пребарување, истражување, преведување, зачувување, уредување, подредување, категоризирање на податоци и во тој начин обезбедување на медиумска писменост, дека секоја информација треба неколку пати од различни извори да се провери, за да се свати дали е навистина информација, точна информација или станува збор за дезинформација и која е целта во суштина на таа дезинформација. Вештини и знаења за да се снајдат во дигиталниот свет, вклучувајќи користење на дигитални алатки за комуникација, соработка, истражување и решавање на проблеми, критичко размислување со мноштво на информации достапни на интернет, клучно значење сите во образовниот процес и генерално да можат да имаат способност и вештина за критичко размислување, да се сватат зашто во суштина станува збор, дали се тоа информации кои сакаат да ги доведат во заблуда или пак да обезбедат некоја манипулација. Образованието треба да биде, да создаде способност за поимање и толкување на прашањата од светски рамки, особено за она што се случува во светот, имајќи ги предвид најновите геополитички случувања и начинот на кој што во овој момент геополитички се позиционира светот, стекнување на знаење за кариерни можности, разбирање на геополитиката во смисла на тоа како функционираат политичките системи и интеракциите со други држави, региони и народи, и дека може да им помогне тоа на младите, особено да разберат сложеноста на геополитиката и како можат другите искуства да придонесат за подобар општествен систем, а не само да се гледа еднострано на некоја информација која што доаѓа без при тоа да се направи анализа, визуализацијата на податоците и за крај да се свати дека интернетот и социјалните медиуми и онлайн заедницата не се само извор на забава и дека тој извор на забава носи многу предизвици, многу опасности и дека треба да бидат свесни во тој свет, кога ќе навлезат во тој свет со што се можат да се соочат и на каков начин да реагираат. Да заклучам, целиот овој сегмент за кој што зборуваме почнува и завршува со образованието. И образованието е клучен фактор за превенирање и надминување на сите предизвици со кои што се носиме како општество. Во основа ние имаме обврска да зборуваме и силно да инсистираме на вистинските вредности и на тоа што би сакале да градиме како општество, затоа што во текот на цела оваа трансформација на општествениот систем од независноста на Македонија до денеска, поминувајќи низ многу премежја, некако по пат ги изгубивме оние вистински вредности за кои што треба да се држиме, врз основа на кои што треба да градиме и во текот на образовниот процес луѓе со интегритет кои ќе бидат отпорни на корупција и на останати девијантни појави, за да можеме да изградиме здраво општество кое што ќе се прилагодува на новите предизвици во геополитички аспект и ќе ги штити интересите на нашата држава. Благодарам.
Благодарам, подпредседателке. Ова што го говоревте сега говори за еден сосема нов свет во кој што живееме и можеби не сме ни сосема свесни за светот во кој што живеевме. Да кажеме, некои претходни генерации политичари имале пред себе како основа да го описменат населението, како основа за развој на едно општество да му понудат или да понудат на секоја индивидуа основни алатки да научат да читат и да пишуваат, за да можат да дојдат до одредени сознанија и да можат да се развиваат и придонесуваат за општеството. Но кога истите тие лица од пред 40-50 години би се разбудиле денески, би го говореле ова што го говорите вие сега, писменоста значи нешто сосема друго денеска. А давањето на можност да се чита и да се пишува може всушност да му наштети на некој. Ако не се знае како да се разбере таа информација која што доаѓа во пишана форма или на одреден јазик или од одредена дестинација. И затоа улогата, како што самата велите вие овде, на овие институции кои што ги градат капацитетите на едно општество, образовните институции, од основното образование, средното и високото, се оној клучен елемент. И го рековте на крајот дека можеби во изминативе години ги загубивме оние вредности кои што беа основа за градење на едно стабилно, цврсто, кохерентно општество, кое што се заснова на вредности, морални вредности кои што не штитат сите нас. Трчајќи сите да купиме нов телефон, подобар телефон кој што ќе има подобра технологија, сите да се вклучиме на Facebook, на Instagram, на TikTok, на Zoom, да се вклучиме на било каква апликација, да повидиме било какво ново видео, да сознаеме нешто, дали ние всушност бевме спремни или дали сме спремни за тие технологии. Затоа ќе му се обратам на Илија. Илија, токму ти работиш во сферата на дигиталните технологии, вие произведувате постојано нешто ново, би рекле некој, не навлекувате на нови технологии, за кое што вице-премиерката вели дека можеби и не сме апсолутно подготвени или треба многу повеќе да работиме да бидеме подготвени тие технологии кои што вие ги произведувате, кои што ни го прават животот полесен, да ги користиме. Како да се справиме со тоа и како да ги зачуваме нашите вредности?
Да, ова е одлична почетна теза. Прво, благодарам на поканата, моја привилегија е да бидам денес дел од овој панел и ви честитам голем јубилеј од 20 години. Се надевам дека ќе бидам тука и на следниот јубилеј од 40 или 50, може би тогаш ќе бидат. Многу ми се допадна почетната теза со која што велиме дека треба да станеме поагилни. Целосно се согласувам. Она што сакам да го земеме во предвид, особено кога станува збор за едукација, за образование, е другата перспектива, другото гледиште на овој ист проблем. А тоа е технологијата како таква и на кој начин може да се употреби за прогрес или за регрес. Јас мислам дека човештвото прво како вид секогаш тендира кон адикција на комфорт. Човештвото сака да влегува во комфорт зони. И таа комфорт зона во моментов е прилично изместена. На англиски ќе се изразам, има голем disruption во моментов, што заради последиците од пандемијата, што заради последиците од руската агресија во Украина. Но сметам дека треба нашиот end goal, нашата цел да биде како да најдеме баланс помеѓу тоа кои се опасностите и ризиците што ги носи новата технологија и кои се шансите, какви opportunities носи таа нова технологија за виднина понатаму. Затоа што историски, цивилизацијски гледано, сметам дека прогресот на човештвото зависел од шака луѓе или две шаки луѓе кои што и покрај сите предизвици кои што им биле наметнати приватно или професионално, успеале да дојдат до момент каде успеале да направат разлика. Ова е тезата што сега сакам да ја дополнам на оваа дискусија. Образованието кај нас, особено во ваква една публика која што е мешана од академија и од студенти. Образованието кај нас и секаде треба да биде местото каде што ќе се учи за ризиците и за опасностите и ќе ги спрема новите генерации како со тоа да се справат, но сметам дека уште побитна димензија на ова е дека образовниот систем треба да спреми млади генерации кои што ќе можат да направат разлика, кои што потенцијално ќе бидат новата шака такви луѓе кои што со нова технологија, со нов начин на комуникација или со нов начин на поврзување на различни точки од сферата, дали се тоа политички, социјални, општествени, економски или друго, на нов начин ќе успеат да ги спојат овие врски, ќе успеат да направат нови врски за нашава цивилизација глобално да може да го преземе следниот чекор кој што сега е под ризик.
Future generations and what future lies ahead of us. Perhaps these are the final years when we are actually speaking in our languages and looking around for somebody to translate what we are saying. I can easily imagine, Ilya, confirm me, because you are from the digital sector of business, that in few years we're just going to have the earphones and we're all going to speak our own languages, be it Hebrew, Macedonian, French, Albanian, Slovenian, whatever, and we'll just get automated translation into our ears by artificial intelligence without necessity to even have a translator as a person, as an intermediary between us, without even necessity to learn foreign languages. Sounds too much like these science fiction movies like Star Trek, like Avatar or whatever, but coming our own way. And on one hand, we are getting ourselves ready for a world where we are all going to be Captain Picard talking to somebody else on another planet in a different language and getting instant translation by a computer. At the same time, we are living a state of, as the Deputy Prime Minister said, war in Europe. War that is war physical. Even that physical war is all about drones and missiles that are guided by artificial intelligence and coordinates and by satellites and digital technology and cyber, whatever, but also war against the values of the states. Shall I speak in French or in English, Michel? In English, just to ask you, you come from France. You have been working with the leadership of your country, a leading nation of Europe, of the European Union. I didn't say the leading, I said a leading nation of Europe. In a world that has completely changed, a world that Ilya said is being distorted because of technology and because of what is happening. What kind of world is it that we live in today?
Yeah, war in Europe, new world order. I don't know about the new world disorder. But first, some remarks on the situation, because you are dealing with digital issue, which is hard security. As a diplomat or former diplomat, as an expert, I'm absolutely ignorant about that, but I know this is important. You know, even if you don't master the topic, you have to take it into consideration. I would just give you an example, because I propose for the publication a title, The Scales and the Word of a War in Europe. Let's start with the words. In France, 3 words about Ukrainian war: escalation, mobilization, negotiation. I will pick up the first one. Why? Because in Europe, we are not in the front line, but we are in the front row. There are not missiles whistling, but words. And wording, it's a battlefield. In the old tradition of Stalinist, Leninist, Soviet-style propaganda. And we are part of the battlefield. So words are very important to study. So I take escalation. You know that this word escalation in France is deeply debated, and it is referring to our gradual military support by Western allies to the aggressor country. And the level of equipment has dramatically raised only 1 year. 1 year ago, we were not ready to send tanks or even planes from Poland. So escalation is an increase in the intensity of scope of a conflict, and it is deemed by 1 or 2 of the belligerents using new weapons, this is vertical escalation, or the expansion of the theater of operation, which is horizontal escalation. By the way, escalation started last year by the Kremlin, and even before, in 2014, in Crimea. And at that time, we, Europeans, included France, we were very weak to condemn the attack. Why? Huge economic interest. Energy, one of them, trade, etc., etc. Diplomatic cooperation in the UN with a permanent member of the Security Council, and propaganda. Propaganda about Crimea is very simple. And many people in France are convinced of that. Crimea has always been part of Russia, always. This is what is believed by French public and repeated by the extreme right. So we can adapt just to the French history. We can say Algeria has always been part of France. I will refrain to take arguments in your region, but it's very easy to do that, okay? So it's not true. But if you believe that, you don't condemn, you know? So this is one point, propaganda. But the other aspect is escalation. Because it was unnoticed, except by experts, that, for example, cyber attacks against critical infrastructure, civilian critical infrastructure, always precede military attack, or even without military attack. As far as I know, the first cyber attack ever made in the world against an electric equipment took place at the 2 days before, or let's say at the end of December 2015, affecting 500,000 citizens without electricity for 1 day, after a cyber attack against the information system of 3 different Ukrainian companies of distribution of electricity in 3 oblasts. And according to the IP address, this attack has been attributed to Sandworm, which is a group of so-called patriot hackers linked to military Russian intelligence. The same story the year after. And now, before every attack against critical infrastructure, you have cyber. The good thing, if I may say so, is that on the Ukrainian side, they have skills, a new generation, they have big companies, licorns, they have technology, they have money, they have competencies, and they learn to adapt to that, included with a dual system, an electronic system for critical infrastructure, but also for electricity transformers, a capacity to use a manual restart system. So the old-fashioned, you know, when you are at home, there is a problem and you do that. Escalation also in Europe. Cyber attack against German harbors, British airport, French hospitals, island security system. So, you know, it's, as an analyst, as an expert, I'm obliged to take into consideration the digital aspect of the aggression and the psychological impact of the transformation of the information space into a battlefield. So words are important, and I tell that also for media, because media are conveying words. And you know, we always talk, I will finish with that, about critical infrastructure. But wording is also critical when you have a conflict. Wording is critical.
Thank you very much. You brought up this argument, Mr. Fouché, about the importance of wording and the importance of conventional and digital combined. One cannot go without the other one. It's a part of the holistic approach, exactly what the Deputy Prime Minister was saying earlier. You cannot separate one from the other. And that we need to be prepared. We need to invest in skills, in technology, in capacity and ability to predict in order to be able to defend. And who else?
Yes, but you need also intellectual, critical activities, and this is not linked to, I'm sorry, to artificial intelligence. I don't believe you can have a genuine translation between two different languages only by computers. You need mind, you need interpretation, nuances. And when you talk, you smile, you are sad, you are serious. This is not in the computer. If you say, yes, I agree with you, body language, I saw that one day. I agree completely with you. I agree or I disagree. I saw that with a diplomat. You? This is not in the computer. So hopefully there is some future for human beings.
Hopefully, yes. Or the digital aspect will tell us, don't worry, the holograms will fix the smiles and the feelings and everything. And they will insert us some kind of chips that are going to give us emotional feelings of the expression of the person conveying through some waves and stuff like that. God knows where the technology will go, but perhaps if God does not know, the Israelis know. The Israelis have always been perceived by their incredible capacity to resist and defend themselves from various sets of aggressive techniques and attacks, be it in the conventional field, be it in the field of technology, be it in the field of science. And we have all been watching with a great deal of impression how the Israelis have managed to stand on their feet despite of these permanent attacks coming from outside and sometimes from inside. So, Yael, it's very good to have you here as former Vice President of the Israeli Parliament of the Knesset, and to tell us what experience can you share with us, especially in this context of the new changed world. We always thought that Israel is under permanent attack within the region, but now in the last few years we also see cooperation, especially after the Abraham Accords, digital cooperation between Abu Dhabi and Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, in terms of protecting the citizens from the outside dangers of the world. Please.
Yes, thank you very much. And as you said, definitely, unfortunately, we have a lot of experience in defending ourselves. We are living in a very challenging neighborhood, and we need to take care of our own protection, both on conventional weapon and definitely on cyber. And as you mentioned, the geopolitics in the Middle East changed in the last 3 years. I will explain what is the main change and how it's connected to cyber, and I will do it shortly because I understand that we are in a time problem here. So things in the last 3 years changed in the Middle East when it comes to geopolitics, and what mainly changed is that until September 15, 2020, we had a thesis, in a way, that said that there is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and until the Israeli-Palestinian conflict will not be solved, there is no chance for any kind of normalizations or relationships or normal relationship or peace agreement, of course, with any other Muslim or Arab country. And as you mentioned, Mr. Coordinator, in September 2020, we had the Abraham Accords, and it's changed the game totally. I was very active when I was Vice President of the Knesset in solving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I led the two-states caucus, the two-state solution caucus in the Knesset, and the caucus for the resolution of the Israeli-Arab conflict, out of the belief that we have to solve the Israeli-Palestinian problem. I still believe we do. but in order to have another steps toward normalization with other states. But then came President Trump and Netanyahu and other Arab leaders and made the Abraham Accords, mainly back then with the UAE as one of the leaders of the GCC countries, and Bahrain. Later on came Morocco and Sudan, and they said, you know what, maybe we shouldn't wait for the resolution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, not because we don't need to solve it, but because maybe it's hard, it's not the time, it's complex, maybe we don't have the partner, maybe any other excuses. So let's start some normalization with Israel, and the UAE was the first, let's say, brave state to do that. And it brought Israel and the region a new era of cooperation with Arab and Muslim states that we didn't know so far. And why it happened? It happened, because again, the resolution of the Israeli-Arab conflict, the resolution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is very complex. It's very hard. B, because of economy and business and the need to cooperate on high-tech, on cyber, and I will touch cyber in a minute. C, because of the balance of powers in the Middle East. And a state like UAE or Bahrain, who had Iran as their enemy, and they knew that also Israel is maybe the biggest enemy of Iran. In international relations, sometimes you said, you know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And then there was some kind of a necessity to create a new front, a new alliance between Israel and the other enemies of Iran in the Middle East. Because Iran is a threat, as we always say, not only to Israel, not only to the US. They are a threat to many, many other countries. We saw what happened in Albania, your neighbor, a couple of months ago. And since the UAE, the GCC countries, and the other Arab and Muslim countries understand that Israel is a very, very big player in the cyber arena in the world, they created also out of this reason this alliance of the Abraham Accord with Israel. We saw Iran together sometime with Russia, with China in one front that in a way threatened other fronts that we know in the Western world. And they addressed Israel to create an alliance, and Israel of course was very, very happy to do so, mainly with Arab and Muslim states, to create an alliance to fight a bigger threat. So is this peace viable? Will he last a lot of time? We don't know yet. But right now we have a common threat from Iran, and I think that Israel can promote a solution. By the way, if we're talking about the Balkans, in your region, if you saw the first country that Prime Minister Edi Rama from Albania addressed after he had the vicious attack from Iran on Albania was Israel. And I was part to be from those who helped to arrange his visit, and we hosted him, and he came to Prime Minister back then, Yair Lapid, and told him, you know, the Israelis know something about cyber. You're dealing with this for a lot of years. Please help us. And we did help, because Albania is a good friend of Israel, exactly like North Macedonia. So if I'm taking that to the cyber arena here, I think that what Fon University understood, Mr. Sefer and the other professionals, the dean and the president and the vice president understood, is that North Macedonia and the Balkan area cannot stay behind when it's come to cyber protection. And we were very honored to be addressed by Mr. Sefer and to brought the top-notch technologies of cyber, of Israeli cyber. And this is, you should also know, Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, we have here Dovi and Elad from Cybergym. They will speak in the next panel. But these companies composed out of the best experts that came originally from the military, from the A200 units and maybe the best cyber people in the world, to offer the knowledge and the know-how of the Israelis to the Israeli friends. We will never assist countries that are in any way have some conflict with Israel. But the Balkans, who for us is a very, very important front, and definitely North Macedonia, definitely also some countries in the GCC like UAE, like Bahrain, like Morocco. The question of Saudi Arabia is very, very delicate, but we can speak about it later if we'll have time. But the fact that Israelis are here, building together with Mr. Sefer and Foreign University, the first cyber arena in North Macedonia, in order to make North Macedonia some kind of a hub, of a pioneer in this region. Because cyber is not only about Iran and war. Cyber is about banks and institutions. You know, 2 weeks ago, Dovi, correct me if I'm wrong, even the Israeli tech institution, the Technion, was attacked by Iranian, which this is of course we stopped it in a very, very early stage. But during the coronavirus, the Iranian managed to shut down few Israeli hospitals, which is crazy. Not only in Israel, I think in Europe also, you know. So if a state, both in the state level, the governmental level, the security level, but also in the civil level, don't know how to protect itself from cyber, the banking system can be shut down, the health system can be shut down, the education system can be shut down. So what the Iranian understood is that if they cannot attack Israel with weapon, they will try to attack Israel with cyber. Because imagine a state that cannot operate universities, I'm concluding, universities cannot operate hospitals, cannot operate banks. This is sometimes even a bigger threat and a bigger problem than conventional weapon threat as we know it. So I will just conclude by saying that I'm very proud to be part of those who cooperate with North Macedonia, with your wonderful state, and with Foreign University as the pioneer of cybersecurity defense, and maybe in the continuous attack front. And I hope that from this place, together with Cyber Gym, together with our beautiful experts, we will see very soon North Macedonia becoming a hub of cyber in the region, and this is our wish also. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm sure that the Deputy Prime Minister is delighted to hear that everybody who has spoken until now resonates with what you were saying at the very beginning, how important it is to pay particular attention to ensure that the digital aspect and the cyber aspect is being understood as a daily priority for all governmental departments and not only for the ones that are dealing with it. Deputy Prime Minister, I know that your agenda is extremely heavy. I'm truly honored on behalf of everybody that you were able to be with us within the last hour. I'm sorry that we're a little bit delayed, and I'm sorry that you have to leave for your busy agenda in the rest of the day. But I take a personal commitment to convey to you later what we have discussed today. Thank you so much. I'll continue immediately with what was just mentioned into the last part. Besa, turning to you, exactly what we heard is that the region of the Western Balkans is perhaps extremely vulnerable, and it could not have been a better connection to what you're doing. You're working as an expert advising governments that national security, especially from the digital aspect, is extremely important. And you're also in the political field as a shadow minister of defense in a region which is very volatile. On one hand, you had Albania that was subject to a massive cyber attack only a few months ago. Bulgaria, our eastern neighbors, have been subject to a huge, massive attack on their pension fund a few years ago, where I think 1/3 of the digital data of all their users were hacked. They're available to they're in the so to say hands of those who should not habit and can abuse it against the citizens of Bulgaria. Macedonia is under permanent threat, not to speak about Kosovo. What do you tell us? Are the governments in this region aware, as the Deputy Prime Minister said, about the importance? Are they ready to defend their national security? Can there be also national security without a regional understanding?
Thank you. First of all, it's an honor to be among such distinguished co-panelists. To understand where we stand as a region, as Western Balkan countries, we really need to understand the magnitude of the evolving world order. Globally, a few years ago, nobody would have thought we would end up dealing with another conventional military attack on EU soil. And to our greatest bewilderment, something that should have been a low probability of happening actually happened. Now we have a war at the door of EU. So conventional military attacks, which until a few years ago, because of technological developments in cyber warfare and hybrid warfare, were thought to be something less of a probability, especially for Europe, apparently are still an unfortunate reality. So those capabilities have to be kept up to date and built, and that collective security umbrella that NATO provides, still all its articles, which initially we intended to review as a result of what we thought was a more modern world where conventional warfare would not happen, still remain important and very relevant, like I said, to our great misfortune. Yet, technology is the future. And while we see that war is being waged conventionally, there is an online war going on as well. You already mentioned the cyber attacks on other countries, government institutions, and private sector, and the major loss of data that has happened as a consequence. We also noticed, I'm not gonna, I might add that another attack actually happened in Serbia, and then maybe focus on the major ransomware attack that happened in US, SolarWinds and the Orion system, which actually compromised a lot of very, very important data. A result of which, for the first time, about 30 countries, spearheaded by US, created a global collective to defend themselves from the cyber attacks that were evolving way too fast. What has happened globally, though, the more united Western democracies are, be that in the cyber attack front or the more traditional NATO front as a security umbrella, we have allowed maybe a gap where, rogue states, so to say, who are in opposition of Western democracies have gotten together because it's a common interest now to fend off Western powers. And in that, we have seen an evolution of a connect between rogue states and cyber criminals. All these attacks, at least a significant part of them, had some kind of political criminal nexus. And this is the real danger, that while we are facing a war at the door of EU, a conventional war, at the same time there is a cyber war going on. So there is a multitude of cyber attacks that are being organized as a derivative of this political criminal nexus. The cyber attacks that have happened in the past, I mean, it's not a secret. They have attacked economy. So they aimed at destabilizing economy, politics, attacking critical infrastructure, allowing for disinformation campaigns to actually be successful at distorting social cohesion, ruining social cohesion, social security, and eventually democracy. So if that's not a threat to our national security, if that's not a wake-up call, what is? In this sense, if these threats are serious enough for Western superpowers, countries way bigger than Western Balkan countries, and certainly bigger than Kosovo, then why are they not significant enough for us in this part of the world to really match the significance with our political commitment, with our prioritization, with our due planning, and so forth and so on. So for Western Balkan countries in this context, it will be significant to understand that the future is tech, and there is really no reason, no at least viable reason to think that you can resist it, that you can expect some kind of ethics being implemented in, safe zones, which even US intended initially, to create this safe zone where, critical infrastructure would not be attacked. That is too much to be expected. We've already seen that happening. So in our case, it's extremely important, and I'm speaking for Kosovo, but I think it remains true for all Western Balkan countries that it's extremely important that we invest in structural issues within our security apparatus, and at the same time have this comprehensive approach at investing in it, be that human capital, a better organizational system, raising the ability to create capabilities for civilian preparedness, and how the more traditional parts of the national security apparatus like military, intel, police connect to justice, connect to municipalities, connect to emergency management, connect to civilian preparedness. And beyond this, invest in tools and invest in tech that then can actually maximize this cooperation, coordination, and communication between all these very important components. We already saw that the NATO 2030 platform a few years ago, how much significance they gave to building national resilience. I don't think in this part of the world we were fully aware what that meant. But as we see these cyber attacks happen, as we see how connected critical infrastructure is to more traditional aspects of national security, to the private sector, to civilian preparedness, we need to realize as small countries that unless we raise national resilience from top down and bottom up, so individual resilience, community resilience, municipal resilience, government resilience, in a way that enables our countries to in time identify national security threats and risks and be able to mitigate them, prepare for, respond to, and recover from successfully, we don't stand a chance. We are too small, we are too limited financially and human capital-wise to do it otherwise. So tech can be a threat if mishandled, but tech is also an opportunity for small countries with limited resources. That's what I want to leave you with, an optimistic note. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lisa. So it's very good actually to talk about threats, but at the end say, hey, hold on a second. It's not about the danger out there, it's the opportunities that are there. And while we do believe that small can be beautiful in the size of our own countries, we also do understand that cooperation is essential. Ambassador or Professor Ruzin,
thank you.
You were there for quite some time in Brussels, where there was a massive coordination happening between the countries of the Western Alliance, of NATO, about the need to upgrade and update the strategy of common defense among all these countries. And there are a lot of small is beautiful. There is Luxembourg there, it's small. Iceland is there, it's small. Okay. Estonia there, it's small, but they're together with Canada, US, Germany, and France. Is there coherence in the national resilience that is being prepared to resist the new tendencies of the global system today?
Thank you. it's necessary that I continue in English. And the title of my speech is A New World Order or Continuation of the War by Other Means, inspired by old sentence of Clausewitz. After the pandemic and war in Ukraine, we are witnessing the creation of the New World Order, a question that affects many analysts. Globalization as we have now it since the 90s is falling apart. What will the new globalized world be like? Will we live in the world of that Thomas Hobbes envisaged, with a chaotic economic war of all against all? Will it be the world that Huntington prejudged as a clash of civilization, or that of Francis Fukuyama, dominated by the model of Western liberal democracy and the United States? Since World War II, the transatlantic friendship has been deeply integrated and is still dominant in the world economy. The USA and Europe make up on the third of global trade and 65% of foreign direct investment. Otherwise, the main vector of the globalization of supply chain, global supply chain. The USA and the European Union possess enormous financial power and strict control over the world production. The dollar and the euro are the main currency and basic means of payment on international exchange through the SWIFT system. Since the outbreak of the war in Ukraine, the idea of forming a bloc of states that accept the values and rules of the Western have been actualized. The era of globalization, intensified by the fall of the Berlin Wall and the rules of multilateralism embodied in the World Trade Organization, WTO, was thought to have ended with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The main lesson learned from the war in Ukraine is that international trade must be based on the principle of the free trade, security, and permanence of trade. Therefore, the West seeks to overcome dependency and separate itself from the economies of China and Russia. In this direction, the creation of a freedom network of being considered, which should act as an economic NATO and collectively defend the prosperity of the allies in the economy of a member state is attacked by an aggressive regime, everyone should commit to help it according to the principle of all for one and on for all. This wording is associated with the Article 5 of Washington Treaty of NATO. In addition of the creation of an economic NATO, the USA appeals to large Western companies to move their activities to countries that are allies, shoring, or friend-shoring. That will mean relocating supply chain to politically safe allied countries. The implementation of the new geopolitics of supply chain refers to strategic sector, the list of which is constantly growing and which is potentially unlimited. America's leading think tanks have declared that the death of global internet and recommended that the United States must launch a new internet foreign policy that will consolidate a coalition of allies and friendly countries to preserve a secure and relevant international communication platform. The organization of the world economic around the transatlantic axis still encounters serious difficulties. On the one hand, the sanctions implemented against Russia are mainly undertaken by Western countries. On the other hand, the reallocation of global supply chains to friendly countries face many obstacles. It is clear that the sanctions implemented against Russia are almost exclusively the work of Western countries, and the same applies to financial and military aid to Ukraine, of which the United States is the main provider with 61% of total aid and 76% of total military aid. However, the final outcome that will result in the creation of the new world order will be dictated by 3 or 4 major powers. Consequently, several dilemmas arise. Is the world moving toward a new, more balanced order, multipolar, bipolar, or apolar, or simply toward an affirmation of the old unipolar order dominated by the United States? In other international political and economic order possible with two-world globalization. Could this war be an indication or opportunity for a transition in power cycles? Will neoliberalism and Western democratic values give way to other value system? That will be the question of our future. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for raising these important questions, Professor Ruzin. That Francis Fukuyama that you mentioned, and we were all happy to read his book, The End of History, and we thought we'll happily live ever after. And then we realized Cinderella does not exist. And then we were all singing to Pen Shop Boys tunes, Go West, but in the meantime, some other people started singing other songs. Right, Roman? The world there that we live in today is in perpetuity, has changed from what we used to know some time ago. 15, 20 years ago, and these changes are there to stay. Some questions were raised by Professor Ruzin now. Should there be new satellite system that is being launched only for the allied countries that need to protect themselves in terms of values, those same values that the Deputy Prime Minister was talking about, or Michel was underlining, or it was mentioned that we are being defended by allied countries from Israel, or resilience have to be built. How do we adjust to this new reality, Roman?
Thank you very much. First, let me allow to congratulate the 20th university. I'm coming from my background is pedagogical science and sociology, so I like this title, education is not preparation for life, but education is life for itself. So indeed, when we are talking about all these questions, you know, I like that not just all young, but also the old educated people are more resistant towards all this, what we are talking about. So especially to recognize what is the fake and what is not the fake. To be last on the panel, you can just say, I agree with everybody who spoke before and go home. But due to the fact that Emil asked me to say something about the geopolitical reality, I must say that I will focus more on political aspect of this, due to the fact that Ilya, Yahiel, and the others spoke concretely about the cyber and the threats coming there. Besa, my dear colleague from Kosovo, she already mentioned the Western Balkans, so I would also like to touch upon what should be done in the region to resist this new geopolitical change in Europe. And you are correct, Emil, that the new geopolitical reality in Europe does not appear to be temporary upset in the world politics. Rather, it is a reflection of deeper and more long-lasting changes in the global political landscape. We mentioned the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the collapse of the post-Cold War security architecture have shown that neither peace nor freedom should be taken for granted. The growing influence of so-called non-state actors such as terrorist groups, cyber criminals, and the social media platforms have gained significant influence in shaping political discourse and shaping public opinion. So Europe has become more fragmented in the recent years with division over issues such as migration, Brexit, and the rise of far-right political movements. So beside that, the rise of the new powers such as China, which is showing now the weakening of the traditional alliance such as transatlantic partnership are all trends that are likely to continue for the foreseeable future. So it's not a temporary. An additional impact of the climate change, technology advancement, and all other global trends will continue to shape the geopolitical landscape in the ways that are difficult to predict, such as adopting to the new geopolitical reality in Europe will require a sustained effort over the time rather than the short-term response to the temporary challenges. So working in the region, and Besa already mentioned, I think that the countries in the Western Balkans and beyond will need to be flexible, resilient, and adaptable in their approach to the international relations, while also being mindful of the potential risks and opportunities presented by the changing global political landscape. In terms of political influence, adopting to the new geopolitical reality in Europe will also require combination of strategic thinking and action. Let me mention some specific steps that I think Western Balkan countries could take to adopt politically. Western Balkan countries should focus on the strengthening their democratic institution, and you were talking about this to ensure that they are resistant to the external pressures. This could involve improving transparency, promoting the rule of law, and protecting the independence of the judiciary. Second, I think that the increase of regional cooperation, even I'm not supporting the Open Balkans, sorry to say this publicly, much more the Berlin process, but I think that the regional cooperation can help Western Balkan countries to build a strong voice in international affairs and reduce their dependence on the external powers. So this could involve the creation of the new regional organization or strengthening existing one and building stronger diplomatic ties. Thirdly, I think Western Balkans Balkan countries should develop a strategic foreign policy that takes into account the new geopolitical realities in Europe. Fourthly, they should invest in infrastructure and in human capital, and this is what also FON is doing for the last 20 years, not just on one side when the state is improving their economical competitor and attract more foreign investment. It's also the creation of the opportunities for the citizens and reduce the risk of the brain drain. Fifth, promote stability and security. That was a lot of this we were already mentioned. And in the end, I think that the Western Balkan countries should engage in the political dialogue with the other countries and region to promote this mutual understanding and reduce the tension. This could involve, particularly in the region of the global forums, hosting diplomatic events and promoting culture exchange. So overall, adopting to the new geopolitical reality in Europe will require Western Balkan countries to be definitely proactive, strategic, and innovative in their political action.
Thank you very much, Roman. Thank you also for giving us some concrete recommendations that we can work upon, and it was a very, very good way to conclude all the discussions. I just would like to inform the audience that it sounded as we have all agreed who is going to say what on the panel today, but it is not the case. We did not even have a single coordination among ourselves before the event on what to say and what message to deliver. Nonetheless, the messages were very coherent, starting from the Deputy Prime Minister, who spoke about the new paradigm, about the importance of the literacy in general, into digital literacy, to address the challenges of the world. Over what we have heard are the challenges that exist, be it from the national point of view, geopolitical point of view, security point of view, all the way to the hope that the technology gives us instead of a threat, see it as an opportunity, and some concrete recommendations both on institutional and on society level how to address these challenges. So thank to each and every one of you for your participation this morning. I offer an apology for not holding up to the exact 60 minutes as it was foreseen, but your contributions were so valuable that I do believe that if you were cut short, we would have missed an opportunity, especially on an educational institution like the symposium is today, to deliver a message that is to be heard, to be understood, and to be resonated with. And now, before we move on with the second panel, I would like to invite the panelists to join me for a quick photo to the front, and then I will pass the microphone to Sefer to actually deliver something which is extremely important. Universities do not exist if they do not have students, if they do not have an owner, those who finance them, but also if you do not have those who are going to be able to share the knowledge. So Sefer, I pass on the microphone to you.
Thank you, Emil. I have to congratulate you. We made, let's say, now it's the third symposium or conference together where you were moderating the first two, and then we were organizing the third one, and they said, we missed something in the program. We have nice people, we have nice experts, we have nice event, and then we were thinking like one day, what we're missing in the program? Then we finally find out that we miss the best moderator from Republic of North Macedonia. I want to congratulate you again. I want to congratulate all the participants. Thank you. I really appreciate the way, I mean, this is the university, the education should be not just, the main role have one university. Let's say the traditional role to deliver knowledge, to create knowledge, and the university has more than that. It has to be clear voice of the, especially young generation, but also the scientific, the academic, and the people who have to bring the knowledge. So university is somewhere where the, let's say, the voice of democracy, the voice of freedom should be, because today, let's say we say we have freedom, we have democracy, but let's be honest, how much of us are scared to say something about the current politicians or the previous ones, or about your boss, let's say, or about somebody who you do, whatever you do. So we say, yeah, we have freedom, but we are not free to speak. So what this university want to create and to do is to be free university, the first liberal university, and university who will create values of the real needs. And that's why they are called the real values. Now I'm going back to the point why I stole the microphone in the place of the Vice Prime Minister. I don't want to go to politics, so don't misunderstand my sitting here. I just wanted to do little change of the program before we started with the second panel, because today is our anniversary. We are celebrating. We are not in a rush. We are at home. We want to deliver. We want to understand each other. We don't want to, if the media are free to stay, they are welcome. If they are not, we are going live on our YouTube channel. So we are open. We send this message to all the world, and we want to start from home. We want to start from this academic institution, which is today celebrating 20 years anniversary. And they ask me, what did you achieve for these 20 years? I have flashbacks of lot of thousands of millions of hours of things of doing for this, but I said one thing, that we survived. Today is very hard to survive on those days with those politics which was happening, with those approach, with the mentality, with all the circumstances. Let's be honest, it's very hard to survive today. So I'm happy, I'm proud of this institution. But, thank you. But you know what? It's not about me to survive. I'm not this university. I'm just a guy who is passing this period of 20 years. Maybe I will work next 20 years. Then the institution, it's which makes people inside. Not those walls, not the wonderful money my father spent to 30, 40 million to create this building. No. It's not the value of what we invested in our technological or whatever. The people, from the first day until today, who worked, who are still here with us, this is the real value of this university. I want to congratulate you. I want to thank you. I want to motivate you to believe more in this institution, in our country, to believe more in our country, because everybody today is a pessimistic. And it's the easiest way. You say, nema aerodova država. Hey, nema aerodova. And then, what? I have 5 kids. What will I leave to my kids? Should I leave them these buildings, this whatever, without value, without my country being positioned, my country have safety, future, and whatever? That's why we were fighting. This university was a real voice. When Macedonia had to enter in NATO, we were before 15 years with Mr. Nano Ruzhin, visiting the NATO and lobbying, not sleeping, lobbying. We were traveling from here by bus to NATO and coming back. When Macedonia had to enter in now to resolve the name issue and whatever, we were there all the time. So one thing, it's what I said, and but from the other side, this university will not be as reputable without our friends, our people who are part of our board of trustees, part of our outside picture of us, let's say. And the university created last year, we started with Mr. Ilhan Küçük. Last year we promoted the new honoris causa. We refreshed with the young people, with the people who can contribute, we can really work. We don't want to be agreed just on paper and to make PR and marketing, but we need really to move the things forward, starting from our institution. And today, I want to use this opportunity to invite Mr. Fouché and Mr. Hilik Bar, Yehil Hilik Bar, both our big friends to our university, personal friends, people who achieved a lot in their life until now, but the people who have a very big motivation to achieve more goals together, especially in the way of education, diplomacy, politics, business, and whatever. So I will use this opportunity to invite the President of the Senate, Mr. Nasser Etemi, to deliver those very important and valuable honoris causa titles to this gentleman. And welcome to our family, and let's grow in the best way together. Thank you. Well, before we start, I have one special award to one special person who is actually a father of Mr. Hilik Bar, who together they brought the cyber security here for education, for training center, who are helping our country, our region to make a real friendship. Mr. Maimon, please, I have one minute. Can you please come? Thank you.
почитувани присутни, дами и господа, почитувани гости. Dear attendees, ladies and gentlemen, dear guests. As the President of the Senate of American University of Europe Fund, today I have the great honor and pleasure to award the title of Doctor Honoris Causa. Doctor Honoris Causa is the highest academic recognition that the American University of Europe Fund awards to distinguished from countries and abroad from their contribution in the national academic, scientific, culture, and business field. Such a person who, with his activities, contributed to the development of scientific thought, culture, and higher education, who significantly supports the process of EU integration of the Republic of North Macedonia, is Professor Dr. Michel Foucher. For a more detailed introduction to the rich career and personality of Michel Foucher, I would like to mention several significant aspects, achievement of this emblematic person. Professor Michel Foucher is one of the most established French geographers, geopoliticians, diplomats, and essayists. What is more significant is above all his scientific reach and result, which is why today he teaches at the most famous French university and institutions. He taught at Lumière Lyon Second University, at the Institute of Political Studies in Lyon, College of Europe in Natolin, at the Sorbonne University Paris, as well as the other universities. His work often focuses on issues relating to the states and borders in Europe and the world, as well as the geopolitical representations and projects of established powers and new actors emerging in the contemporary world. He is one of the authors of the Political Community Project of the European Union and one of the key advisors in several scientific teams and governments in France, starting from former Minister of Foreign Affairs Hubert Védrine to the current President Emmanuel Macron. As an expert in geopolitics, his Atlas of the Francophone words received the main prize for the influence of the French language and literature from the French Academy in 2021. From 2002 to 2006, he was the French ambassador to Latvia. Since February 2006, has been ambassador at large for EU, special envoy to the Balkans and Caucasus in 1999. Professor Foucher is also a member of various scientific committees, councils, and clubs. He is an author of over 30 scientific research papers, more than 5 books, is a prominent geopolitician and geographer of France, and established expert publicist and diplomat. On behalf of the Senate and myself, as well as the entire American University of Europe Fund academic community, I congratulate you on the award of the highest distinction, that is the title of Doctor Honoris Causa. I warmly wish you further success in all your future endeavors, as well as health, strength, and satisfaction with your achievements, and all the best in your personal life. Please accept our deepest compliments and gratitude for our outstanding achievements. Based on the above merits from the work and life of Professor Michel Foucher, as well his great interest in Western Balkans and North Macedonia, the Senate of American University of Europe Fund, Skopje, has decided to award you with the honorary degree Professor Honoris Causa. And now, on behalf of the Senate of American University of Europe Fund, I invite Professor Dr. Michel Foucher to present him with the title Honoris Causa.
No speech, only thank you in one sentence. Blagodaram za ova priznanje.
And now we move on, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, To be honoris causa means to make a selfish contribution, advancement in science and culture, or to contribute in other ways to the development of all society. It is for this reason that I am honored to present Yael Hillich Bar at today's Doctor Honoris Causa award ceremony at the American University of Eurofond. For me and for the university, this is a particularly significant moment because those who have accepted to honor us today by accepting this honorary title have demonstrated their commitment to various areas throughout their professional careers. Yael Hillich Bar was born in 1975 in Safed, Israel. He studied at Bezek College in Givat Mordecai in Jerusalem, graduated obtaining a BA degree in political science and MA degree in international relations from the Hebrew University. Since 1998, he has been the president of student organization of the Hebrew University Labor Party, the president of the National Student Organization of the Labor Party, and the president of the World Youth of the World Labor Zionist Movement. In his political background, Mr. Bar was an advisor to the Minister Dalia Itzik in the Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Industry and Trade. He was also advisor to the Ministry of National Infrastructure, Ministry of Industry, advisor to the acting mayor of the municipality of Jerusalem. In August 2008, Bar was elected chairman of the Labor Party in Jerusalem. The same year, he was elected to the Jerusalem City Council. In 2010, Bar was elected general secretary of the Labor Party, the youngest person ever to serve in the capacity, and the first to be elected to the post before serving as a member of the Knesset. In 2013, he was elected to the composition of the 19th Israeli Knesset, Israel Parliament, where he was also vice president. Yael Hillich Bar is an intellectual with clear and empathic thought, with cosmopolitan views, and the author of numerous works, publications, and media appearances, a man with a great humanistic vision who dreams of peacefully coexisting between Israelis and Palestinians. It is impossible to sum up one person's career in just a few minutes, especially if he is an exceptional individual like Yael Hillich Bar, who also stands out for his drive and his pragmatic nature. Awarding the title of Doctor Honoris Causa is a great honor for our university. At our university, we are proud to bestow this title on Yael Hillich Bar as an honored doctor of this university, which from this day on is also his university. Based on the aforementioned qualities, the Senate of American University of Eurofond considered and accepted the candidacy of Yael Hillich Bar for this flattering recognition of our university. Dear guests, it gives me great honor and pleasure on behalf of the Senate of our fund to confer the honorary title of Doctor Honoris Causa on Yael Hillich Bar. Here you are, Mr. Hillich Bar.
With your permission, I will take 2 minutes to thank first the Fon University, Sefer, and the amazing staff that you are having here for what you are doing to promote education and the values of liberalism, democracy. This is not obvious this day. You know, I'm coming from Israel, I'm Jewish. In this place, there was a huge Jewish community before the Second World War in North Macedonia. They live in a prosperous way and in a safe way until the Nazi machine came and take them. And of course, as a grandson of a Holocaust survivor, it's even a greater honor and very exciting for me to come here to Skopje, where a very strong and viable Jewish community gets this honorary causa, because freedom is not obvious and liberal way of living is not obvious. And what you're promoting here with this wonderful sentence of Nelson Mandela and the values of freedom and democracy is also not obvious. As you know, in Israel today, we are facing challenges and demonstrations and some riots against and pro the government because we are feeling there is some threat on our democracy. So I want from this place, together with all of you, pray that the Israeli people, the Jewish people, will find the strength to solve this issue and to tell the world and ourselves that we will never ever allow anyone to touch our democracy, to threat our democracy, to hurt the justice system in Israel. And I do hope and pray that we will solve this very early. I want to thank you once again for promoting these amazing values of freedom and for this honor causa, and hope that together from here we will promote together with you not only values of democracy, but also a perfect technological and cyber security as we are doing together. And again, thank you very much on behalf of all of us. Thank you so much.